In a survey, 3 questions Q1, Q2, Q3 were asked from 600 people. For these questions, see, you might feel, okay, drawing the Venn diagram and arriving at the final values, right? You feel it might take some time, but remember, even if it is going to take you 2-3 minutes, it's still fine, because there are going to be 5 questions that follow that, and once you get this diagram correctly, all the 5 questions you will get it correct, right? So you will get 5 marks. Okay, so here there are 3 questions, Q1, Q2, Q3. Now how many people are there in total? There are 600 people in total. 20% of them answered only Q1. So only Q1. Okay, how many people have answered? 20% of this 600. How many people are there totally? 600 into 20 by 100, or I can say there are totally 120 people who have answered only Q1. So where do I put this Q1 120 in this Venn diagram? It is here. Only Q1 means no intersection, correct? Only Q1 means this is the region. This is the region. So only Q1 is 120. Now next, what have they said? 20% of them answered the question only Q1, and double of them answered the question Q3. So if 120 people answered only Q1, double of this value is how much? 240. That is 120 into 2, that is 240. So 240 students answered Q3. See here, what have they mentioned? They have mentioned double of them answered the question Q3. So double of them answered the question Q3 means what this 240 represents is this full circle. Okay, it also represents the people who have answered Q1 and Q3, also represents the people who have answered Q1, Q2 and Q3. Totally 240 people have answered Q3. So this 240 actually represents this full circle. Okay, yes. Next, what have they said? 1/4 of the total people surveyed answered only question Q2. So 1/4 of the total people surveyed answered only question Q2. So how many people have been surveyed? So only Q2 is how much? 600 into 1/4. These many people have answered only Q2, or that is equal to 150. So where do I put this 150? I put it here. See, I am writing these steps so that it is clear to each and every one of you. In the examination, please do not write this. You know what is 600/4. Directly write it here as 150. Okay, similarly 600 into 20 by 100. You know what that is. Write it directly, right? See, 600, 10% is 60. 10% of 600 is 60, 20% is 120. You should be able to write it directly. Don't waste writing these steps. Next, 1/24 of the total people surveyed answered all the 3 questions. Okay, so 1/24 of the total people surveyed. So how many people answered all the 3 questions? All the 3 questions were answered by 600 into 1/24. See, again, you know 24 into 24 is 576. 24 into 25 is 600. So the answer here is 25. So how many people answered all 3? 25. Here in this question, try to do these small calculations faster. Okay, do it in your mind, do it in smart ways. Like how I do this is 600/24. I know 24 into 24 is 576. So 25 into 24 is 600. Or you can even look at the multiples of 25. You know it has to be 24, right? So that is 25. All 3 means 25 students have answered all 3. Next, what is given? And this number, okay, 1/24 of the total people surveyed answered all the 3 questions, and this number is 20 less than the number of people who answered the question Q1 and Q3. So this number is 20 less than the number of people who answered Q1 and Q3. Q1 and Q3 but not Q2. So which is the area that we are looking at? See, Q1 and Q3 but not Q2. This number 25 is 20 less than the people here. So what does that mean? How many people are there here? So only Q1 and Q3 is done by 20 plus 25 or 45 people. See, how am I saying this? They are saying that this 25 is 20 less than the number of people who answered Q1 and Q3 but not Q2. So here you have to put 45. Then the number of people who answered the question Q2 and Q3 but not Q1 is 25% of the number of people who answered question Q1 and Q2 but didn't answer the question Q3. So how many people have answered Q1 and Q2 and not Q3? This set. right? This is the set that they are referring to, that is the people answering Q1 and Q2 and not Q3. Let me take that to be X. Now, if this is X, what are they saying? The number of people who answered the question Q2 and Q3 but not Q1 is 25% of this X. Or I can say this area, right? That is the people who are answering Q2 and Q3 but not Q1. That is equal to 0.25 of this X. That is what they are saying. If X people have answered Q1 and Q2 but not Q3, then 0.25 X people, right? Let me write it here clearly. 0.25 X people have answered Q2 and Q3 but not Q1. That is what they have said here in the last statement. They say the number of people who answered the question Q2 and Q3 but not question Q1 is 25%, the number of people who answered the question Q1 and Q2 but didn't answer Q3. Next they have said the number of people who did not answer any of the 3 questions is 10. So there are 10 people who have not answered any of the 3 questions. Now you have most of the information here. You have one X here, one 0.25 X here. Now this full circle, the value is 240. So what can I say about how many people answer only Q3? How many people answer only Q3? What is this value? It is nothing but this total people who answer Q3, that is 240 minus all of these values, minus 45, minus 25, minus 0.25 X. So this gives you the number of people who have answered only Q3. Now I have got this also. Then, so the only variable that I don't know here is X. How do I find out X? See, totally there are 600 people. Out of the 600 people, 10 people are not answering any questions. So remaining how many people are there? There are 590 people. So when you look at all these values, right, values in Q1, Q2 and Q3, all these add up to 590, right? That is 600 minus 10. Okay, there are 10 people who don't answer any of the questions. So out of the 600, if that 10 goes, remaining 590 is there. So this 590 is what is represented in these sets. Now what can I say? I can equate that this 590 is equal to sum of all these numbers inside these sets, right? That is 120 plus X plus 45 plus 25 plus 150 plus 0.25 X plus here what will come? Only Q3 means that is going to be this value, right? 240 minus 45 minus 25 minus 0.25 X. So this is equal to 590. Just equate this and solve for the value of X. When you solve it, you will get X is equal to, solve for this, you will get X is equal to 80. I don't have space here, that's why I'm writing it like this. I hope this part is clear. See, in the last step what we did was we first find out all the values inside this sets. Once we did that, we know all these sets that constitutes the 590 students. So this 590 is nothing but equal to this 120 plus X plus 25 plus 45 plus 150 plus 0.25 X plus whoever are there here. That is given by this one, right? 240 minus 70 minus 0.25 X. So I added all that and I know when I add that I will get 590 because 10 people are not answering anything. So from when I solve this, I will get X is equal to 80. See, in this step of calculation that you do know, there is a small shortcut that you can use. In the sense, to reduce the calculations, what you can do is, this full circle, right? This full circle is 240. So take this 240 as such, then you have 120, then you have 150, and then you have this X, right? This is equal to 590. You can do it like this also to arrive at the answer faster. See, this is the actual way in which you do it, but since we know that this full circle represents 240, directly you can take this full circle as 240. In that, all these values are taken into consideration, right? Remaining, you are left with 120, X and 150. You have to take into consideration this X, don't forget, because this is a separate thing, right? This 120 only represents this region and 150 only represents this region. So you have considered all these in this 240, then 120 plus X plus 150 is equal to 590. So if you do it this way, the number of additions that you have to do will drastically come down. Okay, yes. So for the first question, how many people are there who answered Q2 and Q3? Q2 and Q3 but didn't answer Q1. We got X, no? What did we get X as? We got sorry, Q2 and Q3 but not Q1. See, we got x is equal to 80. So Q2 and Q3 not Q1 was 0.25x, or that is equal to 1 by 4 into 80, that is equal to 20. So the correct answer here is option A. What is the number of people who answered exactly one question from all the given 3 questions? So what is the number of people who answered exactly one question? Exactly one question means only Q1, only Q2, only Q3. So what is only Q1? 120. Only Q2 is 150. Now only Q3 is this value, right? That is, what is this? This is nothing but 240 minus 70. So that is 170. 170 minus 20, or here actually the value that will come is 150. See, I just equated this and found out, that's all. Only Q3, how many people are answering? 240, 45 plus 25 is 75. 240 minus 70 is 170. 170, you know 0.25x is 20. In the previous question we found out. So 170 minus 20 is 150. So how many people answered only one question exactly is 120 plus 150 plus 150, correct? That is equal to 420. Answer is option B. Again, even this and all you will not have to write it down during the examination. Once you have the figure with you, writing this is very easy. The number of people who answered the question Q1 is what percentage of the total number of people surveyed. So how many people answered the question Q1? 120 plus x plus 45 plus 25. That is how much? 120 plus 70 plus, you know what is x? X is 80. So 120 plus 70 plus 80 people have answered Q1. That is how much? 270. So 270 people have answered Q1 out of how many people? 600 people. This into 100. What percentage is this? 45%. Is it clear? Option D. The number of people who answered the question Q1 is what percentage of the total number of people surveyed? That was the question. So here you have 120 plus 70 plus 80, right? That is 190 plus 80, or that is equal to 270. So 270 out of 600 is 45%. That is option D. Yes. Next question. What is the difference between the number of people who answered at least one question and the number of people who answered at most one question? So, how many people answered at least one question? See, at least one question means people who have answered only one, only two, only three, and 1 and 2 or 1 and 3. Basically, if you look at this diagram, okay, people who have answered at least one question are these people who are there inside this 3 sets. Okay, these are the people who have answered at least one question. How many of them are there? See, you know, totally we have already found that out, right? Inside all these 3 circles put together, if you add, you will get that to be 590. So the number of students who are answering at least one question, okay, at least one question is 590. We have already got this. Now the next they are asking, how many people have answered at most one question? So at most one question means either the student should not answer any question or the student should answer only one question. So what are the things that you have to take into consideration? So at most one question means you have to take into consideration this 10 plus this 150, 120, 150, right? These 3 people, these 3 sets, right? 120, 150, 150. That is answering a maximum of one question. They are answering only one question. And these 10 people are not answering any question. So what is the total that we are looking at? See, we have already found out this total, right? 150 plus 150 plus 120 is 420 plus this 10. So at most 1 is 420 plus 10 or 430. Now what are they asking? What is the difference between these two? 590 minus 430. So 590 minus 430 is 160. So the answer here is option B, 160. Hope it is clear.